If you are looking for a tutorial on how to draw hand nuggets, then you, my friend, have stumbled upon a tribute of an actual good tutorial on how to draw hand nuggets. For today, I'm going to show you just some things I keep in mind when I draw fingy wingies and, hand holding, and you get what I mean. So this is not the most technical video on how to draw hand chunkies, but perhaps by seeing the way that I draw funky wungies, you might find yourself with a tidbit, a nugget, because there are many ways to go about starting to draw hands, and while I don't believe that there's a correct way, and as long as you can get the results you're looking for, well, wouldn't that just be peachy pudding? Let's get into it. Got him. Now, I hate to break it to you. I hate that you had to find out this way. But, you've got hooves, just like every pony. Now, welcome to Equestria, everyone, because the main thing that you need to know about hands is shape. Typically, when I draw the grabbies, I try to break things down into shapes. And one of the best ways to do that is to draw your pony sona. Just kidding. But the hoof shape does help, because then you'll get all your information in there. You get the shape of the hand in here, and you get your little triangle for your webbies and your thumb, and then you know that all your fingy wingies come off of here, and well, yeah, I'll try to break it down a bit more for you, but essentially you're a weird winged hoof thing, and I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Now, I would say the best way to go about hands is to use a lot of reference, especially when you're just starting out drawing. A lot of the times, even now, when I'm drawing, I will take pictures of my own hands and use them as reference. I have lots of very stupid pictures of my hands on my phone. And then sometimes when my phone says, "Stop taking pictures, your phone's about to die," I'm like, time to delete some stuff and make some room. More hands need to be had. In fact, you'll see a lot of artists recommend that you use your own self to take picture poses and references to aid you while you draw. Now, that's a spicy tip. But this comic maker, what if I'm drawing fingum wingums and I don't have a way for me to get reference where I am at the moment? Like, say maybe I'm sitting inside of a cafe and I'm drawing, or like I'm in class and I should be paying attention, but like I don't really want to because, man, I just got the itch, you get the itch to draw. Well, that's a great question. Of course, once you get enough practice drawing hands yourself, you might not need reference to make it happen. Or you could be one of those weirdos who does like hand motions in the middle of class, or like facial expressions in the middle of class, where you're trying to like, I don't know, draw a guy pooping or something, and you're making that straining face, and as you do often when you draw people pooping while you're in class, So still, looking at your own self or things like that are good, but there are some things that you can keep in mind as far as shapes and things that might help you just, snatch the art abilities. Just take them and take them as yours. So let's talk about some things that you can keep in mind. So first of all, like I said before, we'll start with shapes. Some of the shapes that I keep in mind are a square, a triangle, maybe a more smaller triangle, skinny boy up there, and then let's maybe do another square, and then like one more triangle. Now I'm going to take these shapes and I'm going to put them together and make a hand. Let's go. Wow, what is this? A terrible rocket ship? Perhaps A sideways shark? That's not a shark. Okay, let's go back. But essentially, these 2 squares and 3 triangles can help you in getting the shape of your hands. And this is just one way to possibly go about drawing these suckers. Let me demonstrate. Have you ever seen a duck's foot? Perhaps you noticed the webbing. Well, just like you have a hoof, you also have duck webbing. And the webbing goes right about here. You have a wonderful little bit of skin flappies that make it so that your thumb has lots of wonderful range. I'm going to start with the thumb because thumbs, they know fun. They can be one of the most difficult things to figure out in how to draw the hand. And we're going to be drawing the palm. It's of course important to keep in mind muscles and squishy bits and bones and, you know, all the things like that. But for this first one, we're gonna just focus on shape. I had to adjust this tiny triangle here. But you want to break up each of your fingum-wingums into 3 parts. For the thumb, part 1, part 2, part 3. Now you could take each of these and make little triangles or little squares to make it happen and then curve them off to make your thumb. And then it's also important to adjust it based on where it would be on the fingum-wingums. But let's get the hand tendies done first and then we can adjust the thumb. You might be asking yourself, oh, what's this? And why? Well, let me show you. Well, if you take a hand and you follow this curve, why, you get a little arch, don't you? So if we break apart this hand into the shapes I made, here's the square, here's our special webbing, which is part number 1. Then we have part number 2 and part number 3. But then you might be asking yourself, but then why this? Well, you see, if we do our square for our fingies, you also have a point on top that kind of matches this one. Wowie zowie. Now I'm going to draw the pokey wokies close together, but as you can see from this picture, you can do the same thing, but much more spread apart or whatever. Rectangle, 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 rectangle. Okay? And then we can break it off into parts. 1, 2, 3. This one you want to come all the way to as close to the top as you can. 1, 2, 3. This one too. You want to have different lengths of your fingy-wingies. And then for this one, I would start at this last knuckle here for the height of your pinkies. Your pinky, dinky winky. Now if you take your thumb and your pinky and make them touch, and like so, you'll end up with your squishy whooshy right here for your thumb being more bulbous, more round. So we know that this muscle comes off here, and if you want to, you can do lines for the palm of your hand. Now that we have this information, let's put the hand together. Now when you're drawing your fingies, after you have all your guides down, you might want to kind of round things out. Makes it seem a little bit more realistic. You can put some lines in here, all the creases where your knuckles go. For the palm of your hand, I would draw lines that kind of represent the lines that you would see inside your hand here. You might want to do it a bit less. It's up to you. Sometimes, just like there's webbing where the thumb is, there can also be a bit of webbing between the fingy-wingies. So oftentimes, this little bit right here, oftentimes I like to make a V shape in between the fingy-wingies with a little opening, but kind of erase some of it so you get some like depth and detail. But when you have the hand closed like this, you might want to just maybe dip some of these, you know, give the hand some shape. And of course, then you can go back and make adjustments. Like this thumb looks a little weird. I might want to make it a little bit thicker. If you're drawing somebody with long fingernails, you might want to draw the fingernails. Totally up to you. You can also test how this works. Like for example, if I take my thumb and try to touch my middle finger with my thumb, I'll notice that my thumb really only goes to about here at that length. And so I might need to adjust the height of this thumb accordingly. And that's the great thing about drawing. You can just kind of like move things around, you know, make things bigger or smaller. Now this can work great for like anime characters or realism as like a base before you worry about all your shadows and things like that. But let's say that you're wanting to draw cartoon characters. Does this apply there as well? Let's see. Obviously with cartoon hands you could change things up just a little bit. You still have your basic shapes, a square, webbing, maybe another square. But with cartoons a lot of times things get exaggerated, so you don't have to go as crazy. So you might want to like round out your shapes more and not give nearly as much detail as you can imagine. Fun thing about cartoons is that you can take your shapes and exaggerate them. So like say we have this hand and we're gonna turn it into Robin's hand from Teen Titans Go. He's got lots more angle and shape to his hands. You have more fun with it, you know? When you have hands from different angles, instead of doing it like we started with basic shapes, you do kind of have to start trying to think of it from a 3D perspective. And the further you go away from just basic stuff, the more you do need to study and practice hand anatomy and just anatomy in general. But for this, I'm going to show you what I do when I draw things like a fist punching or a hand with fingers kind of like going towards the camera or whatever. So for a fist, just like when we had our square for our hand and our triangle and things like that, we're gonna have essentially the same thing. A square and a long triangle. And the reason why we have this is because, well, you got knuckles. And that middle finger, let me tell you, it wants to be higher and better than everybody else. So I have 1 knuckle, 2 knuckle, 3 knuckle, a 4 knuckle. Wow! And then about 3/4 of the way up our square is when we can have our fingies stopping. Now, the curled part of our fingers, because if you see it from the side, it's like a knuckle, fingy, curled in like this, you know. Our thumb then would probably cover this part if it's this angle. So we can erase this actually. This might not be so long, but you know, you get what I mean. So all your other fingies are tucked up inside your hand there, and all we're gonna do is from our knuckles, you can make your lines down like that. Okay, and I would recommend curving in, but like really, really gently, okay? We're gonna have some lines here and curving them in ever so slightly. The bottom I would curve, curvy, 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 curvy. Now, if you're doing something that's like action-packed, shonen, something, then you can go like super angular, which I'll show you in a second. But then, if you take your hand in a fist, there's 2 ways you could do it. You could put your thumb inside your hand, or you can put it in front of your knuckles. Now, you don't want to punch with your thumb inside your hand because that wouldn't be very smart. You'd crack that thumb real hard. So we're gonna put our thumb on the outside, and if you look at your fingies, your thumb is gonna come kind of sorta at like the middle here, maybe more towards the bottom, outwards, and your thumb is gonna rest underneath the knuckles here. Mine goes to about the middle of the middle finger. So then I'm gonna curve this up a little bit for that. Look at that. Then of course you can draw like the thumbnail if you want to. For some reason in anime it's like people don't have nips or fingernails sometimes, but you get what I mean. But anyway, you can sometimes draw like the palm of the hand here or have some of this come out a little bit to give more form. And then if you're doing like macho shonen, you might have like super, you know, details. That's where you come in and you draw like the knuckles and all that angular. Lots more like, instead of like curving lines like this, you might want to do like lines, you know, and sometimes multiple lines, you know. You get the, that's how you get macho. More lines equals more macho. Macho. But then if you wanted to take what we learned and of course then apply it to cartoon knowledge, a lot of times cartoons are very curved. So you can have your square, you can have the wrist, right? Then you can have it just curve around, curve around, curve around, curve around. You get, this is the hard part because you got to count, right? There's math involved. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingies. But this last one you're going to want to like do a thing where you have, so 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, but you want a 5th line, not for another fingy, but to finish off the last fingy. You want to curve it up and connect. It's like a shoe, you know, like a shoe, you know, a boot. That's a boot. And then you can have this part of the fingy come back, or the hand come back. I mean, that's a thick wrist, you know. Then you can have your thumb come this way. It's a little bit more cartoony. You can even put some more knuckle wuckles at the top if you want to. You don't have to. Wow! Really, if I was to do this correctly, we would have it more like this then. If you were going just a little bit more. Sometimes I'll do like that hoof shape, like an upwards angle, you know? And I'll do 1 fingy, 2 fingy, 3 fingy, 4 fingy, like this. Then you can erase it. If you really want to, you can draw knucky wuckies coming down this way, you know? Maybe have this one more towards this final, because this right here, this end part of the hand is the last knuckle, right? It's the final knuckle. Even I can't just draw straight how I want things to be, you know? If you've been in my live streams, you know I erase a lot. And that's okay. It's about drawing confidence, you know, getting better, growing, practicing. So last I'm gonna try to draw a scary hand. And it's only scary because it's hard to draw. And that's one where like a hand is coming towards you. So like I'm gonna have like somebody being like, you know, standing there. And he's gonna be like, what's that? Like having a conversation, you know, the lunch was at 5 o'clock. And I didn't know what I was gonna eat for lunch. So I had spaghettios. And then I got heartburn. You know, this guy looks like a guy who would have heartburn, right? Anyway. So we're gonna draw a hand kind of like that. And this is where you gotta think about things in 3D. I mean, eventually you're gonna get to a point where you kind of think of the hand in 3D anyway, but you know. First things first, I'm gonna draw my square. This is going to be the palm, and I'm going to think about all the things that I learned before. I'm going to think about where my muscles are. I'm going to think about this is where the thumb muscle is going to be at this angle. The side of the palm of the hand is going to go here. My squishy bit right below my fingers is going to be like here. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, these fingers, where are they going to go? Like if I drew them straight out, right, they would go kind of like this. I drew them way too far apart. If I drew them straight out, you know, like that, that's one thing. But now I gotta try to think of them as, you know, 3D sausages. Sausages in 3D. So, my thumb, I'm gonna draw it outwards a bit in this reference photo I have. I'll show it right here. This part of it, the thumb goes here, and then this part comes outwards like this. It actually points kind of up, you know? And this is a joint, and this is a joint. This is gonna get messy, okay? And this is complicated. People say, please teach me how to draw. It's hard to say how to do certain things. It's easier to show, and even then it's not easy, you know? Here's our webbing, like Spider-Man, and a duck, because we're ducks with hooves. For this fingy wingy, this one was coming towards you, right at you. There's a knuckle here. Finger, winger. We can see this knuckle. We can actually see, you know what? We can see all the knuckles. Knuckle. 1, 2, 1 knuckle, 2 knuckle, 3 knuckle, 4 knuckle. And I ain't talking about no Sonic. These fingies are actually going downwards. Like, here's a knuckle. About partway through the palm is the other one. This guy got long fingies. And curve the top. This hand goes up a little bit towards this finger. Holy heck, man. He's got fingies for days. Because this knuckle ends here and then goes way past the hand. What happened to you? Who hurt you? Oh, you know what? Our muscly bit here is a little bit long, actually. And then this last fingy wingy doesn't even make it, man. It like goes behind this fingy wingy. It's a long pinky. I guess in this angle it looks longer, but it really isn't. But even so, it's very long. Now let's erase some things and adjust some things. I'm gonna erase the inside parts here. We kind of have some shape going on, right? He's got a very long thumb, but you know what though? Look how close it is to this finger. These are things that you can think critically about while you're drawing. Let's put that way I don't have to hold it on screen anymore. Let me just put the hand that we're drawing. Oh, that's gonna be blurry. In fact, I'll move this over here. Hands can be really intimidating, but you can take your time. What are you rushing for? Don't rush. Don't go fast. There's no reason to go fast. So his muscly hand bit is kind of flat in this picture. But you can see here, he's got some of his webbing showing there. His Spider-Man webbing. Because actually all of this, I did not draw close enough. It actually goes like onto this finger, you know? It's like here. Look at all the adjusting we need to make. His knuckle here. This starts to bend out again a little bit. That's the thing about like hands, is like everything is really so subtle, you know? Like really subtle changes. This guy bit off like all his fingernail here. It, like comes in, and then he's got like a crazy man hand fingers here. Look at these fingers that go on for like a million years. And then he keeps this finger awfully straight, but I guess when you're bending from this angle, it does kind of look straight. But he does have a gap here. Gotta keep that gap, it's important. I realize that this kind of curves a little bit, right? And then this knuckle pokes out, and this knuckle actually isn't really quite at the end there. It's like we got a bit of flesh here, and if you notice, this part of the flesh lines up with this, right? So that we can see that it's connected to this palm here. He's got a bit of his wrist in here too. You see that right here? So that's where his hand is, right above this knuckle. And then this his clothes here come down right in between these two knuckles. These ones right here. And then we can assume that if this is his arm, right? And if this is here, like this would be his forearm, right? That comes up this way. It's just going towards us. Like if a can of soup was like this, but then you know like that Chef Boyardee commercial with like the soup rolls. The soup rolls, it's gonna go a little bit farther away, be a little bit smaller at the end here. It's gonna go like this. So same thing with our wristy wrist here, or our hand. All this is gonna get smushed down, you know, the clothes stick out, all that good stuff. It's just things to think about. It's like you don't think about these things until you're into the drawing, and then you're like, oh, that's kind of how a hand works, right? Or like how this works or how that works. You learn about so much about like how the body or how things work just by like observing it for a long time. Just like how I was drawing the shapes of the hand, and it wasn't until I was like, like this was farther back and there was not much gap between these two fingers, you know? So then you gotta adjust and all that. And it's hard because then you have to try to find a way to translate that for when you're drawing, and you might not always have an opportunity to have like look at reference while you're drawing stuff. Because this is this bulbous part of the hand there. Because I think this is his nail. Kind of like this and like that. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I get asked a lot if I could do tutorials and videos like this, and sometimes I don't know if I'm the most qualified, but I hope that something in this video might have helped you out while you were watching it today. If you want to check out an even weirder tutorial that I made, I'll leave an iCard for this beautiful how to draw the chest video that I made quite a while back. As always, thank you so much to my wonderful Banana members and people like you who like, comment on, and share my videos. If you liked tutorials like this, please let me know in the comments down below and maybe I'll make some more. As always, I appreciate you all stopping by, and I hope that we can draw together again soon. Bye, guys.